as soon as you hear that.
All right.
the
Good
agenda
evening,
up.
good evening. All right, you said we did have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 13th, 2023 meeting of the City Somerville Traffic Commission. Pursuant to that Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Traffic Commission will be conducted via remote participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville's website. Groovy. May I get a roll call vote to see who's present, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Present.
Lena Webb,
Here.
Lieutenant Reimel,
Here.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Here.
and that's 4 here and 1 absent. So we do have a quorum.
Wonderful. Well, hello, my comrades. Here we go. So looking at the meeting ground rules, listen to the other side, focus on issues, not personalities, avoid questioning motives, and let's be polite. Item number 1, acceptance of the minutes from the June 8th, 2023 Traffic Commission meetings. Can I get a motion to accept or deny, please? Lieutenant Reimel?
Motion.
Great. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful. Can I get a roll call vote to accept the minutes of the June 8th, 2023 Traffic Commission meeting minutes?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Lena Webb,
Yes.
Lieutenant Reimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 2, the Western Washington Street mobility improvements. And we have a alphabetical array of discussion from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Is it an L? All right, we got an L, M, N, O, P. One of these days we'll get to Z and we'll have like a big party. Who is here from administration to discuss these items?
Through the commissioner, Adam Polinsky here from the city's mobility division in the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development.
Wonderful. Take it away, Adam.
Thank
And
you.
Adam, do you want to put up the slides?
I would, yes.
I believe, 1 second.
Yep. And
We should be good now.
Chair, if it's okay with you, I did brief the commission on this project last month. So my plan tonight was to read through all of the agenda items here forth and just go through, highlight the minor tweaks that I've made since last month's agenda, rather than reiterate every single piece of curb and the overall project goals that we went through last month already, if that works.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Cool.
And I'm just going to state for the attendance record that the counselor has joined the meeting.
All right, everyone can see my screen, right? Great. Okay, overall project scope, as I had discussed with everyone last month, so we will skip that slide. There is just one thing that I wanted to touch on this month that I did not last month, that we as a team feel is important that the Traffic Commission knows, which is all the community engagement that goes into these projects and ultimately where these recommendations come from. So we just have a quick slide here, all these slides of which will be available after the meeting. If anyone wants to dig in more, just some of the highlights of how we've engaged Somerville residents throughout this process through sort of more traditional methods such as virtual public meetings and surveys that we conduct virtually and sort of distribute to people when we're talking to them on the street, in addition to things like block walking and flyering, which happens multiple times throughout the process, as well as connecting more one-on-one and having discussions with local business owners, a creation of a public input map, doing tabling at a lot of the big Somerville events that happened and allowing folks to come talk to us about this project and the others that the mobility team is working on, and then doing some digital promotion as well. So with that, I will get into the meat of the presentation here. I will read each item aloud and then talk through briefly what those actually mean in terms of what is changing on the curb. Item 2A, regarding the curb on the north side of Washington Street between Beacon Street and Line Street, request to convert the 75 feet of metered parking nearest to Line Street to a 55-foot loading zone and 20 feet of no parking anytime. Item 2B is a request to relocate the bus stop on the northeast corner of Washington Street at Beacon Street to the northwest side of Washington Street at Beacon Street, which will require converting one metered parking space and a 40-foot loading zone to a bus stop. The existing bus stop would become no parking anytime. And then item 2C, which is the request to remove the bus stop on the southwest corner of Washington Street at Beacon Street, converting the bus stop regulation to no parking anytime. As discussed last month, this image shows the current general aerial of the street and what the current curb regulations are. Here is these items shown and what piece of curb they correspond to. And then here is what the condition will look like if approved, as well as the final design, which again, I went over last month. And so I will not get into a lot of detail here. This slide is exactly the same as last month, so there are no changes. Moving on to the next section of the street, item 2D is regarding the curb on the north side of Washington Street between Dane Street and Beacon Street. A request to convert 350 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to no parking anytime. Item 2E, regarding the curb on the south side of Washington Street between Beacon Street and Caldwell Ave. Request to convert 75 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to no parking anytime. Item 2F, regarding the curb on the south side of Washington Street between Caldwell Ave and Calvin Street, request to convert 115 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to 90 feet of metered parking in a 35-foot loading zone. And then item 2G, request to relocate the bus stop on the southwest corner of Washington Street at Calvin Street to the southeast corner of Washington Street at Caldwell Ave, which will require converting 40 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to a bus stop, and the existing bus stop would become 20 feet of accessible parking. Existing conditions, highlighting the proposed changes, and then the final condition. And then here are the construction plans. And again, on this slide, there are no changes from last month. So this is the same as what was presented in June. Item 2H, regarding the curb on the north side of Washington Street between Leland Street and Dane Street. The request is to convert 20 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to accessible parking. This one is slightly different from what was shown last month. So here is the existing condition. You'll notice that there is a section of red, which is no parking anytime, right up to the red in the street, which is currently where the bus lane is. We had originally, and our designer had originally showed the accessible space here. We thought we were essentially gaining a spot. Turns out that they did not look closely enough, and that this is actually a driveway access for DPW to get into Perry Park. So we cannot use that as a parking space. So those are the little details. We're making sure that we're designed correctly as we're going throughout this process. So instead, we'll be putting it in the next closest available actual parking space, which will require the replacement of this 2-hour parking except by permit space. And then the final condition. And the final construction plan. And so, as you can see, this is an old version. It does show 3 spaces here, and they had not accounted for this driveway. So that was a comment that we gave to our design team to make sure that they update. So we'll go in this middle space here. Item 2I, regarding the curb on the north side of Washington Street between Parker Street and Bowden Street, request to convert 75 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to no parking anytime. And item 12J, request to shift the bus stop on the north side of Washington Street opposite Parker Street by 30 feet to the east, which will require converting 30 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to a bus stop. The 30 feet of curb where the bus stop is being shifted from would become no parking anytime. Existing condition. Proposed regulation changes. Final condition. And this slide is the same as was presented in June. So I will not go into any further detail. And again, the construction plan for reference. All right, almost there. 2 more sections. Item 2K, request to permanently approve items 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1F of the October 22nd, 2020 Traffic Commission meeting, which I've linked that agenda there. Item 2L, regarding the curb on the south side of Washington Street between Bowdoin Street and Hawkins Street, request to supersede item 1E of the October 22nd, 2020 Traffic Commission meeting and instead convert what is currently regulated as 320 feet of no parking anytime to teacher permit parking between the Argenziano School driveway and Hawkins Street. The curb on the south side of Washington Street between Bowdoin Street and the Argenziano School driveway would permanently become no parking anytime. And then item 2M, regarding the curb on the north side of Washington Street between Hawkins Street and the Argenziano School driveway, request to convert 230 feet of teacher permit parking to no parking anytime. So if anyone would like a little bit more clarification on this slide, item 2K actually doesn't have sort of a corresponding section of the street. And the reason for that is that what you currently sort of the existing condition on Washington Street right now is actually a result of a pilot that the city implemented back in 2020. However, in order to sort of an administrative step that we want to make sure we take is to clean up the regulations. This was approved as a 1-year pilot. However, we did not get the official approvals to sort of make sure that that becomes the permanent existing condition. And so that item 2K is intended to say what is out there today, you know, sort of pre-construction is the truly the existing condition that has been formally approved by the Traffic Commission. The only thing that changed or that will be changing in the sort of new construction condition is one section, item E here, which I will go over on the next slide, but we will be changing the side of where parking is on the Bumpus Bridge near the Argenziano. It allows us to get more parking. And so we will be switching the side in the final design of this project. And so that's why this item is sort of pulled out here and we're proposing a different regulation. And then I will go over to M, which is more standard on the next couple slides. So here is the existing condition on this section. We have a bus stop currently, 2-hour parking except by permit, a couple spaces, 1 accessible parking space. Here is the special permit parking on the bridge, which is teacher permit parking right now. And then we do not have any parking on the south side of the bridge going over towards Hawkins Street. This was discussed on the previous slide, but we will be shifting this bus stop back a little bit. And so we will be losing these 2 parking spaces here, or 1.5 roughly. And then this is what I'm describing on the bridge where we will be flipping the side. So item 2L is to convert this section here to teacher permit parking, and then to instead remove teacher permit parking on this side. And again, the idea there is that we'll actually end up getting 4 or 5 additional spaces by putting it on this side of the street because of the way that the street is designed and sort of how that functions. And then the final condition in terms of the curb regulations. And the construction plans. So you'll see that this is where you can kind of see that the parking will now be on the south side heading eastbound, and that will go all the way up almost to Hawkins Street. And then lastly, item 2N is regarding the curb on both sides of Hawkins Street from 20 feet north to 40 feet north of Washington Street. Request to convert a total of 40 feet of residential permit parking to no parking anytime. And item 2O regarding the curb in front of 268 Washington Street. Request to convert 20 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to accessible parking, and then convert 20 feet of accessible parking to 2-hour parking except by permit. And this would result in a 40-foot section of accessible parking and a 40-foot section of 2-hour parking except by permit. So there is also one thing that I had not flagged with the Traffic Commission last month, which is item 2N, that is the change on Hawkins Street. So Hawkins Street, we're going to provide a neighborways connection, sort of a low stress connection for people walking or biking to go up Hawkins Street or down Hawkins Street if they so choose. And that will require, we do want to make sure we have bike lanes at least at the mouth of the intersection. And so that will, being able to put that in and put those tapers in will require removing these two spaces right here. So that is shown right here. And then item 2O is a little bit of a mouthful, but really the idea is just that what is currently one accessible parking space, two 2-hour parking spaces, and then one more accessible parking space can then be converted to 2 spaces right next to each other and 2 spaces of 2-hour parking right after that, which will just simplify those regulations a little bit and make it a little bit more clear for everyone. We won't require as much signage, and we will be putting in, we will be changing the curb here while we're redoing the sidewalk to make sure that it's easy for people who need these spaces to be able to access the curb a little bit easier. And then here's the final design. You can see these 2 spaces next to each other, next to the bus lane that exists today and will continue to exist in the final design, as well as what I'm talking about here on Hawkins Street, where we do have space for an entry and exit bike lane, and then parking will start sort of at the top of the page here, where it says Hawkins, where it says street. And with that, my presentation is complete. Thank you, everyone.
Do you have any discussions or questions from the committee? Hearing none, thank you for Adam for this great presentation and really appreciate the thoroughness that your department has been doing with this stuff. Hearing no discussion, can I get a motion to either approve or deny this request? This is item number 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, elemental. Nope, no P, L, M, N, O. Yeah, Leah?
I will make a motion
I'll second that motion.
Is it to approve or to deny?
to approve.
Okay. Councilor Gomez, you're making a second to approve?
I will make a second motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote to approve? Item number 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, J, L, M, N, O.
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Abstain?
Councilor Gomez Moacad,
Yes,
Lena Webb,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes and 1 abstain, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 3, Central Broadway Clear Corner Initiative. A, regarding the curb on the south side of Broadway from 20 feet east of School Street to 40 feet east of School Street. Request to convert 20 feet of meter parking to accessible parking. And B, regarding the curb on the east side of Temple Street from 20 feet north of Broadway to 7 feet north of Broadway to request to convert 50 feet residence permit parking to a loading zone. Who is here from administration to discuss this?
That is me, Jessica Bello, traffic engineer.
Hello.
Hello. So I guess I'll do a broad overview. First, the Clear Corners initiative we have been implementing, and that is just clearing the area that is basically 20 feet on each side of a crosswalk and then 30 feet at intersections. So we started implementing that last year on Broadway on the west part of Somerville. So this year we are moving forward and incorporating that along the Central Broadway portion. And when we did our block walking in this area, we spoke with First Citizens Bank, who specifically requested that they could, or asked if they could receive an accessible parking space in front of the bank, because they have a lot of people who access the bank who use mobility devices. So I spoke with Adrian and she agreed that this would be a good location for an accessible space. And then the other location on Temple Street, we spoke to the businesses on that side as well. And they indicated that they would have they would need use of the front of their business property to be a loading zone, specifically because we will be removing the loading zone closest to Temple Street because it is too close to the intersection. So that will be illegal parking once we implement these markings. So prior to implementing the markings, we wanted to update the regulations.
All right, any discussion on these items in the committee? Lena, you just want to say something? Nada? Okay. Just intently listening.
I can go on the record and say that I really do support the Clear Corners initiative, just as somebody who walks, basically, like, yeah, anyone who has tried to cross a crosswalk from like behind another car should understand that like this is a pretty reasonable request and something that really does improve the safety at intersections when people can see you as you set out in the crosswalk. So I'm always on board with Clear Corners. It's a good initiative. Thank you.
Yeah, I knew there was something in there you wanted to say. All right. Hearing no discussion or any questions, can I get a motion to approve or deny this item number 3A and B? Lieutenant Raimel?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
All right, Lena?
I'll second the motion.
To accept? All righty.
Sure.
Can I get a roll call vote, please, to accept item number 3A and B?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Abstain.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lena Webb,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes and 1 abstain, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 4, regarding the curb on the north side of Highland Ave, just west of the curb cut for 191 Highland Ave. Request to convert approximately 55 feet of 2-hour parking except by permit to a loading zone, 20-minute commercial, 5-minute passenger from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and residential permit parking only at all other times. Who is here from administration to discuss this item?
Through the commissioner, that would be me again.
Hello.
Hello. So the brief context for you all on this item, 191 Highland Ave is in front of the Armory. Recently, as part of actually Jessica's efforts to make sure that we have accessible spaces in city-owned parking lots, we installed a couple at the Armory, and that is previously where a lot of the tenants in the Armory had been doing loading. And so as a result of that, and in order to be able to continue to accommodate their needs, they had requested that that loading zone be moved out to the front of the Armory, which we support. And so this would take, you know, roughly 3 spaces, turn that to a loading zone based on the times that the Armory tenants have requested, and it will revert back to residential permanent parking only at all other times.
I just want to comment on this because this is in my ward. I think this is a huge improvement, I think, to the operations of the Armory. Especially some of the neighbors sometimes complain of activity in the back, and this will kind of move it to the street one. And it's really important. Thanks to your team for creating accessible spaces as well, ensuring that. Just a side comment, we need to repave because I don't know how accessible that little entry is there with all the cracked asphalt, but that's another issue.
I think, Chair, you're muted.
That was good because I totally messed it up. Can I get a roll call vote? Now, see, I did it again. Can I get a motion to accept or deny this item number 4?
Motion to approve.
All right, a second, Tierney?
Second to approve.
Wonderful. Can I get a roll call vote to approve this item number 4?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Abstain.
Fix me first.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lena Webb,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes and 1 abstain, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. I am not seeing any more agenda items for this wonderful summer evening. May I get, yes. All right. May I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Rock and roll, groovy tunes. Roll call, do I need, we roll call vote to exit this party?
Yes.
Yes, can I get a roll call vote to exit this party, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Abstain.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes, sorry.
Lena Webb,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes and 1 abstain, and the motion to adjourn carries.
Well, thank you guys so much. Hope you have a wonderful evening and stay cool. And thank you to the administration. And again, my heartfelt thank you to my incredible committee. I love doing this gig with y'all. So cool beans. Have a good evening.
All right. You as well.
Okay.
Good night.